right way, so.
It might be different with prescription, maybe it's blended a little bit better, but these were just, you know,
Oh, yeah.
plain. You know, I wear prescription glasses, so I can see what he's doing anyway. You know.
No, my eye doctor always prescribed with like the anti-photographs. Don't put that, that's $125 laser.
Oh, wait, I have to change the name on my thing, hold on. Oh, I don't think you see, that's me. I have to change our name.
Carl's here.
No, he's not. I am.
Oh, you're Carl. So I can make Carl the host.
Yeah, well, don't do that. I'm mentioning that.
Recording in progress.
Becky, your meeting button.
Okay, I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but are there any public comments? Okay, seeing none, then, we'll go into the first item on the agenda is to review select board minutes, meeting minutes from February 27th.
I think it's actually March 12th, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is? Why did I have March?
Well, because
It's the 26th today. That's the meeting for tomorrow.
No, but it says on mine.
But we have a meeting on March 12th. I mean, March
Okay.
27th. But the last meeting was March 12th.
All right, I printed out the wrong,
And we do not have meeting minutes from.
No, I think that's the right agenda. It's,
I went back and I found minutes from February 27th. From Geneva. Had we already approved those?
27th, yes,
I think,
at the last
We have.
meeting.
I think these were the last ones he took on March 12th.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, yeah,
That's
anyway, this was,
confusing.
yeah, no, I printed this out from something and it had February
I think it's
27th.
something wrong on
Yeah, maybe it was wrong on
the agenda.
yeah. Okay, so it's March 12th. I did take a look at those too. Is there a motion to approve those minutes of March 12th? So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Who did what? Okay. let's
I
see.
move, I
Melissa?
moved it, so I moved the motion and Eric seconded.
And,
Melissa, I'm sorry.
and Rita,
And I should,
it says the February 27th on the agenda, that's my mistake.
okay, that's, all right, I thought I was going nuts. when
No,
you said
I
it wasn't that.
you are
Okay.
going,
I thought you said March 27th.
No, I said February 27th, but it was on, that's where it was on the agenda. Okay, so, Melissa moved and Eric seconded.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Dr. I.
And Farrell, aye. And since we have a minute, I just want to back up and I want to, for those of you who haven't already met Jeanette Kiley. Jeanette is now our new assistant town clerk. And this evening she is filling in taking minutes because Geneva Bickford, who was our administrative secretary, unfortunately, left the employ of the town of Shutesbury to take a full-time job with the town of Montague Board of Health. So she didn't want us to make a big deal about it. We had a little celebration for her at the town hall. And we were sorry to lose Geneva, and we really appreciate Jeanette here stepping in this evening to help us out. And the job for administrative secretary is posted on the town website as well as the job for the land use clerk. So there are two jobs up there. So again, thank you, Jeanette, and thanks to Geneva for her work with the town. So the next item on the agenda is to review the second draft of the annual town meeting warrant. And Becky, I'm going to turn this over to you. We've been through this once, and there are some changes, some additions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't,
I have it up on mine. And I can share.
Rather than going through all the kind of standard articles that we've already done, Becky, if you would, this will be available as part of the minutes from this meeting, right? This draft. If people wanted to read it, but if you could highlight what the changes are, that would be great.
okay, so, the bulk of the warrant was first reviewed 2 weeks ago. We're moving down to the first addition to the warrant is Article 6, a request by the Energy Climate Action Committee to put on a warrant article for the specialized energy code. The Energy Committee did a presentation on this about 2 weeks ago. They do have that presentation available for people. The specialized energy code has significant changes over the stretch code, the regular stretch code that the town had adopted into around 2012. And we hope to have another information session, but it's only in the planning stages. We don't know if there'll be time to do it. Any questions on that could be directed to the Energy Climate Action Committee.
And I assume, is that presentation, is there a link to that presentation on their website, or do people have to go to?
I believe it's on their website. I'll
Okay.
double check.
Okay, yeah, we should just make sure it's there.
Article 7 was requested by the athletic club, to the select board. They want consideration, to open for brunch at 10 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, and have the ability to serve alcohol at those times, which they currently do not have, and requires the town to adopt chapter 138, section 33. Okay, Article 11 is being requested by the chair of the cemetery commission, Walter Tibbetts. He, on the encouragement of his other members, they have come to realize that Walter does significant amounts of repair and maintenance to equipment that the cemetery commission uses, as well as he often jumps in and does regular groundskeeping work. All the work that the other members of the cemetery commission have pointed out are contained in the cemetery groundskeeper's job description. And so there's a request similar to Catherine Hilton of the Board of Health, that the town allow payment to Walter Tibbetts for his work while being an elected member of the cemetery commission. Article 12 is a request from the cemetery commission to add to our revolving fund the $2,000 fund, so that fees that come in from cremations can be put in there, and when we pay, whoever we pay, whether it be Walter or someone else to do the cremations, like Clark, Clark could be paid out of the revolving fund.
To do what with them, bury them.
Yes,
Not to do that.
Just second.
Clark brings his heavy equipment and digs holes, which are used in the burial. Okay.
Becky, can you just go back? Was that, was the money for the PFAS remediation, was that in it last time?
Yes.
It was, okay, I just didn't remember.
And I still have to,
We still don't
Communicate
have
about that.
confirmation.
yeah, I
Okay.
have to get through to, have to meet with Jeffrey Faulkner with the Clean Water Trust. I believe we have a couple more, and maybe. Okay, this still needs to get the 25, 24 is a placeholder.
We don't have the final budget from the finance committee, their recommendations.
No, they're gonna be working through, they've added an extra meeting for Wednesday, tomorrow night at 6:30. Warrant Article 26 is a bill of 2 prior years. One is for McNichol and Queens, an invoice for $967.25 for title insurance for the Kestrel land purchase that happened last year. I got a call from Tina Crocker, who works at Donna McNichol's office, that inadvertently they had failed to send over the title insurance bill to us last year when we went through the Kestrel Trust process. So we need to pay that invoice. The second invoice is from Associated Elevator for an annual safety check back in October 2022. Article 27 is a bill of prior years. The first one for 2 Automark ballots and media invoices. I'm sorry, yes. And that one needs the amount.
I do see 384.
Oh, I see.
No,
For
the
first one. Okay, yeah,
384,
yeah, I got it.
yeah. sorry.
Okay.
The last final bill from prior years was a Cartelli Ford invoice for $384.89 for maintenance of a 2008 police cruiser that had not been paid.
And Becky, is there a reason why they weren't, why these invoices weren't paid for the elevator and the ballot?
The elevator that there was, the bill was lost and came up when we did, when we were reconciling the account. But it had not gotten processed. We don't know if we received it or not. The one for the Automark ballots is the town clerk's office, and she found, when she went back through to reconcile, she found that she had not paid, those two in the prior town meeting. So he brought those to my attention. And the final, was an FY 23 invoice from the police department that was omitted.
Okay.
And those are the changes that we have. The final change is I added, another petition from citizens regarding non-resident voting. As you can see, there's some lengthy petitions in here. We have all our planning board. Here's the citizen petition for the Forest Allies, and then the final citizen petition was from a resident, non-citizen permanent residents to give them the ability to vote or take any action there too. And those are the final changes that I have with our.
And the only other bill prior year was around the tree warden. Has that been resolved?
I'm still working on it.
Okay, but so we'll go through this warrant.
We will do a final one after we get the budget.
So
We're not gonna
what meeting will
finalize
that be?
until
Our next meeting? On the 9th?
I think it. has to
Town
be-
meeting's on the
Yeah, I think it has
27th,
to be
right?
the 9th unless we set another date.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
Let's work this out.
9th and 23rd is our normal round of meetings.
Yeah, so it has to
Would be
be
the 9th.
on the 9th
unless we have
go-
a special meeting.
And that would be in coordination with finance committee if they need us. But we really need it on the 9th because we want to, well, the 16th, we can still mail out. I mean, we can get things up online. Since we no longer mail out of the budget, we just put it up online. We can still manage it.
Will we send out a Shutesbury town announces the link in the email?
Oh, yeah.
to it?
And we have the school budget.
Well, we have the elementary school budget. The regional school budget is in dramatic flux. They have reached out and asked the town to share an increase of $957,000. The school committee made up of almost, no one has much experience over 1 or 2 years. And they voted a budget almost $1 million higher than they had than what was reviewed by the 4 towns. And
The school committee did.
the school committee voted almost $1 million more and asked, Doug Slaughter to make up numbers and send them to the town, which has been received. And for Shutesbury, it means about $136,000.
So is that part of what the finance committee is reviewing?
Yes. The conversation at the last finance committee meeting was a 2-hour discussion with the regional rep about the budget. the conclusion of that was, a memo to the superintendent saying that that the finance committee did not feel that amount of money was feasible for the town of Shutesbury. And they did ask for another 4-town meeting. They indicated they would appreciate discussion of coming up with a lower number that would help address some of the concerns. Today I had a phone call from Leverett.
So that was my next question.
And the town administrator asked me what Shutesbury was thinking. I gave her that information. He told me he was going into a budget hearing tonight with 2 budgets. One with the new number and one with the old number for the regional assessment. And that no committee had yet had a conversation in her town about the new request from the region.
When is their town meeting?
Same day as ours.
Oh, it is. And have you heard anything from Pelham?
George reported, talking to John Tricky, that Pelham was a no vote.
Yeah, because theirs would be even higher than, we were the lowest at
There's
the,
200,000.
yeah. Wow, that's a huge increase.
And Leverett's is about almost identical to Shutesbury's. What they did, and this is another point of contention that the finance committee addressed, was that the regional assessment formula appears to have been dropped in the calculation. I think Doug, yes, the statutory 5-year rolling average does not appear to be
How they did the calculation.
right. And then the language that they voted with it causes more problems. So that was one of the things the finance committee asked Doug to review the assessment paragraph and vote that they were sending out to communities because it was in conflict. It appears to be reflecting, there's 2 different totals in their calculation, and the assessment formula that they used, which was a flat 8.2% for all towns, came up with a $23 million figure, but in the other column where they list statutory, it's a $24 million figure. But then the vote refers to using the $23 million figure. So there's conflict in it. I think it's one of those things that they have to go back and look at. So hopefully there'll be enough time for them to review all the open issues.
So the finance committee is meeting tomorrow night, and then do they have another?
They have their regular scheduled meeting the
The following-
following Tuesday
Okay.
on the 2nd of April.
Okay. All right, great, thank you for that. I knew that there were issues, but I didn't know that level of detail, so I appreciate that. Okay, anything else on the warrant? We'll get it finished at the next meeting. It will get, a town announce will go out with a link to it. And hopefully the school budgets at the same time, they're done.
Yeah, they have, and I'll send it to Donna.
Do they have to be done? They have to be done for the warrant,
They are
right? So,
legally done. So any changes, those figures have to be amendments on town meeting floors by multiple
Oh, God.
towns
Oh, my God. Okay,
that are in no way in agreement at this.
great. Wow, okay.
Thanks, Michael.
That should be
That sounds good.
Okay, sounds like fun. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the appointment of Frank McGinn as the town's appointee to the Franklin County Commission Inspection Program. Frank, are you with us? I see your picture up there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Trying to find it right away.
Down at the bottom.
So Frank is a member of the town building committee, and Frank, I understand that you have volunteered to be the town's representative?
Yep.
Okay,
And the next meeting's in April, in 3 weeks.
okay.
I meet quarterly, so it'd be fun to do.
All right, good. Good. Any questions? Okay.
That's great.
No, thank you for doing this. So do I hear a motion to appoint Frank McGinn to the Franklin County Commission Inspection Program?
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Tucker, I.
Carol, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frankie.
All right, so the next item is to do some more planning for the all boards meeting. And
I really didn't get very far on this one.
Okay,
I apologize.
I mean, what were we talking? Were we talking about June?
Yes,
Yes, okay,
yes, June 11th.
June 11, okay.
5:30.
All right. Why don't we,
What do
since
we
we
need
have time, yeah, it's probably just notifying people the date and then we
Yeah,
can get
and then
the
we can-
agenda.
We
Together
get the other
afterwards.
list.
That makes sense, so, I guess, you know, a real simple email could go out to all, save the date. Exactly. It's not a web.
Right.
More
So it's-
information to come.
Yes, yeah, more information to follow. Okay, great. All right, Becky, we are ready for town administrator updates.
Okay. So the school had a safety meeting this week on Monday. Unfortunately, all our town representatives were not available, so, but I got an update from Jackie. Their main discussion was about the AED that they are working on getting funding for. The one that they have in the gym currently is no longer functioning at all. They can't get replacement parts similar to what Lenny experienced.
This is a defibrillator, is that
Yes.
the AD? So,
Yes. So they are searching through their funds to try to solve that problem immediately. Lenny helped them source the one that he's getting through his grant. I believe they're gonna try for a grant for a second one, but at this point, it will be good to have one in the gym. And hopefully Lenny's recommending they put one in the nurse's office as well. The other problem that was discussed is the generator, did not automatically turn on again. So, we have calls into Tim Turek, who's scheduling an appointment for him to get out and solve the problem on the switching over. It switched over manually without any problem, but it didn't do it automatically.
this is during the most recent power outage?
Yeah.
What's the plan right now? If we lose our license for the switching, is there a person assigned to go down there and switch it if lights go?
Well, we're not just Matt can do it if he comes in, but the fire department had also checked on it, and we'll have them go down immediately. Lenny's gonna make sure one of his guys goes down to check it right away. This weekend's power outage, I believe we had a very strong response from our fire department and our highway department. And
I know.
Yes, it was, luckily we had word by the morning that they thought they would have all power back on by mid-afternoon. I know a number of homes. Yeah, Melissa's was 8:30 p.m.
Mhm.
and mine was 4 p.m. Some were,
We had to spring it at 9.
but, all power was restored. Kristen was, in charge of National Grid and hounding them mercilessly like the ghost. And Lenny was out. Unfortunately, the result of all his activity is again pulled his back out. And is, working through that again this week.
Can I, before we move on, I want to say that, remember with the meeting we had with National Grid this year when they were doing that phase down Wendell Road?
Yep.
Those lights stayed on mostly.
Yeah,
down
yeah.
that-
Leverett Road. Leverett
Where-
Road stayed on
that
where the
big
office
wire.
is on,
Oh, they did, okay.
but the new one.
Yeah.
We only looked for the speaking down the line of fire.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting, it got quick attention. So we had an inquiry about,
Not having,
Yeah, the emergency, but-
set up the emergency station.
but we couldn't get a phone, the phones didn't work, the landlines didn't.
If your internet goes
The
out and you
people-
don't have the backup battery, your phone,
Right,
you have to have the backup battery to run the phone.
right.
Although the landline at my grandmother's house, the landline is a copper line, we haven't done the Wi-Fi and it was on.
It was on, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
our copper line was on too.
okay.
But, that was a tough one. I'm usually the one who opens the warming station.
Well, it was a bit of a surprise, the weatherman did not favor having a nice.
No.
Right.
And
He's not alluded to it either.
I also have a tree down on the far side of my car between the road and the car,
I could have
Um,
done it too.
which is, we got. So, and I came here at 10:30 because Ryan had set off the alarm. Part of his code had vanished from the system. So he was, but Mary Ann, got here before I did because she was out hiding eggs in the snow for the
God.
Easter egg hunt. But yes. And I had plans and I had an appointment that morning with friends and I did not think about keeping it open.
Yeah.
We will try to find a way to make sure that happens.
I think we should get the emergency management team back together. We haven't met since COVID. And that certainly since.
Yeah,
Walter
with
has
Lenny,
retired.
yeah,
I
okay.
think we need to,
Have a meeting,
have-
yeah, kind of just review procedures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just, maybe establish some meetings or whatever comes out of it, but I think we need to.
And the hour I spent checking on everything, I checked through this building, I had a phone call with Kristen, I went down to the fire department and made sure that they had checked on the school and made sure that we were in good condition and that highway was finishing up. But I didn't,
How many households were out?
there were about 250 across.
Yeah,
It was 274 and then
Started at one
225.
twenty-two and kind of bounced around. I watched the National Grid outage. and that.
Yeah, a lot of people have it. If you go to National Grid, you can get all the updates that are coming to us.
Yeah, Michael gets, he gets 10 from.
Yeah, and they're the same text that I get.
Yeah.
And, the police and fire, pretty much the same.
So
So that's a place that people can go if they're concerned.
we also have to keep in mind too, that there's people when the lights go out, there's no cell phone. Or, right, because that's the situation when I'm personally in. Lights go out, my backup battery goes down after 6 hours, I have nothing, I have no cell signal.
Right.
So, updates via electronic method are not going to.
Now I know,
I
yeah,
have to
it's one
purchase
of the,
and drive up to the top of the hill to get it.
one of the problems, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to keep that in mind. If
Yeah,
the
but
message-
we could just, we should talk about that, so I think your suggestion is great, that, let's get Lenny on the.
And the way we used to do it is the select board would pitch in and take turns.
Mhm. I couldn't get out.
Oh.
I couldn't either.
Well, the power company actually finally came, they cut the tree, but then they were there for a long time because the line said they were gonna fire, so then they had, and there were live wires down. Yeah.
Well, I'm just blazing through these CAs, so
Yeah.
we have our, we're still okay.
Yep.
Okay. Union negotiations are in full swing. I've got a meeting at the school on the 8th of April. They've met twice. We've got a police union meeting on the 28th, which I think is Thursday. So those are happening. Neither will be complete before the budget has to close. So that might have its own challenges moving forward. The library well was, drilled, began last week. And completed yesterday at 609 feet. The good news is they didn't, if they hadn't hit, at that point, they would have had to do some practice. So that's good that they got 2 gallons and a quarter at 609 feet. The bid for the Shutesbury exterior trim and painting will be due in on April 2nd. We held, a pre-bid meeting on the 20th of March, and we had 3 vendors show up. We only had 2 vendors show up for the, asphalt roof, but we got 8 bids. So I think 3 vendors, hopefully we'll get 12.
Yeah.
The annual town report, which has been, a question mark this year. Our editor of the newsletter, Janice Gray, has done this for the last number of years and declined to do it this year. Today I got confirmation from Greg Tolton that he will step in and do the work.
That's great.
And I believe there is a small stipend that have been initiated that will continue with Greg. Until it returns to, if it ever does, it might return to the admin secretary position. That's who used to be responsible for it. And the last thing is that, I worked with Jeffrey Arps and Sam Evans at I and Bond, to submit, an IRA on the gasoline on Friday, and we had a second one that was due yesterday on Monday, and both were submitted.
Can you just, spell out what the IRA is for people who don't know?
Incident response action,
And that was submitted to DEP.
on EDC online. It's called
Yeah.
EDC, yeah.
So how is, well, we can talk about it when we have Jeffrey. Okay. I think that brings us fairly close. Anything else, Becky? No. All right, I see, is Jeffrey Arps here
He
yet?
will be in second.
Okay. Well, maybe you can answer the questions then, or I can save it for him. But we had that, February 20th letter to DEP. So what is the relationship that was submitted? That was a periodic review opinion. And then the IRA gets submitted as a result of that? Is that?
Well, he can answer the question.
Okay.
February 22nd, was
It
that?
was February 20th, 2024. It was a periodic review opinion for a temporary solution.
I think that was our draft, that was the basis of the report we submitted.
Okay, all right, so I'll check it. Okay.
Sorry that,
All right, so is there, I don't think there's anything else, because after we have Jeffrey, then we have the executive session.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, we have a few minutes, let's see if he shows up.
he's waiting on,
Is it
the
there?
link.
Bear with us, folks, we're getting Jeffrey Arps from Ty and Bond the meeting link. Do that.
Oh, yeah, here's that.
What's his name again, Jeffrey? Arps, A-R-P-S. We had him on the agenda just to talk about PFAS. Are we gonna talk about gasoline too? Yeah.
Confirmed receipt.
Jeffrey's from. He's from Ty and Bond, C-I-G-H-E. And Bond. He's our consulting engineer.
Some licensed site professional, so-called LSP,
Thank you.
to deal with the pollution issues.
These peanuts,
Yeah. it's all-
they smell so good.
Yeah.
I know.
No, actually, I was able to eat dinner before.
Oh, look at you.
Because I worked at home today.
Oh, nice.
Went to the office yesterday because, you know, it was just easier. But
He texted, I mean, he emailed, he got it.
the
Logging in.
Okay. Conference that you met? Oh. Women in
Oh, women.
Women in construction.
Hey.
Yeah, good thing.
Who's sponsoring?
An acronym.
It's like an association.
Yeah, yeah, it's a.
Here we go.
Yeah. Ah, great. He's there. He can't
You
hear.
can't hear? Hello, hello? It says,
It's still a connecting audio.
it's still trying to connect.
Is that something on our end?
I don't
No, I don't
think
think so.
so. Frank, can you hear okay?
Yes, I can hear fine.
Okay. I'm not sure. Oh, you got it?
Here we go.
Oh, we can't.
You're
hear you.
muted though, Jeff.
Now you have to unmute.
There you go.
I had to connect with computer audio and it wasn't connecting and okay. I think we're all set now.
Okay, great. So we have with us this evening Jeffrey Arps from Ty and Bond, who's a licensed site professional and a VP at Ty and Bond, who has been the lead person in working with the town on the, gasoline and PFAS issues at the Shutesbury Fire Station. So, what we wanted to do this evening, is, just, hear from you. I know we have some of the background information, but to give us a kind of a status update on where things stand with regard to both, the PFAS and with the gasoline station, and give the board an opportunity if they have questions about, what's next, how we go from here.
Sure. Okay. If it's all right with you, I'll share my screen, and it'd be easier if we can look
Great.
at maps.
Oh, I haven't, David.
Hang on one second, we need to make these photos. You should be okay to share now.
Can you see your site plan?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is the aerial view of the fire station. This was actually the in that submittal that we just made in response to DEP's notice of noncompliance for the periodic review opinion. So as part of that work, we sampled MW 8, 9, 12, 5, 3. We were going to sample MW 11, but that well was dry, and we sampled these two, VW1 and VW2, that are inside the fire station. These two inside the fire station were non-detect. MW8R and MW5 were both pretty hot. We had two constituents that were above the standards. MW9 had a little bit in it. MW12 was almost completely clean. So, and MW3 also had some in it. So these are the groundwater contours, and this arrow indicates what these contours show. This doesn't necessarily agree with what we're seeing for contaminant distribution. Like I said, seems to be more of a northerly component, which might be indicated by this little blurb in the line here. But that agrees with the previous consultants. They had also suggested a northerly or northwesterly flow direction. So that makes sense with what we're seeing at 9 and what we're seeing at 3. We were going to sample MW4 also. That well could not be located in the field. I don't think that's been sampled since the 90s, so it's very well overgrown and all of that. So what we ended up doing, I submitted this periodic review opinion stating that I believe that the temporary solution that had been in place previously by OTO was still effective. We had measured like the dissolved oxygen and the oxidation reduction potential and some other geochemical things in the groundwater that indicate, there is oxygen. So in these wells here between 8 and 5, there was very little dissolved oxygen, and the oxidation reduction potential is negative or very low. So that typically indicates you don't have aerobic bacteria, and aerobic bacteria are the ones that degrade gasoline. So, having DO, dissolved oxygen, and ORP that's positive outside the plume tells us that there is oxygen here, but it's depleted in this contaminated area because the bacteria are using it. So based on that, we said that, what OTO did before is still effective. There is aerobic biodegradation happening. The issue here is that we only have these two wells, 8 and 5, and 5 was pretty hot. And, we don't have any wells down here. So technically DEP could say we don't have the plume defined, that our monitoring is not adequate because we don't have wells down here. So what I said in the opinion was that we would put a well down here somewhere, and then we'll have to sample that for gasoline, and hopefully, what's here is below standards. the concentrations between 8 and 5 are almost identical. So, it's a bit of a crapshoot on what we're going to find down here. But I think going down gradient as far as we can, something along the edge of the property, or I'm not sure where the property line is, but somewhere in this area, we can get a drill rig in here to put a well in, and we'll sample it and see what we get. Fingers crossed that we find the end of it, and then we can tell DEP we found the end of it. Our plume is confined to, this area here. As part of that work, we also sampled the sump in the basement of 50 Leverett Road. That sample was also non-detect. So again, that speaks to, this arrow not necessarily being true. This is what the elevations show, but the contaminant distribution shows something else, which is not terribly uncommon. So we did check the indoor air in the basement, and we also checked the sump. There were some gasoline constituents in the air in the basement, but we attributed that to the fact that there's cars parked in the garage with just a door separating them. So it's not uncommon to have, something like a gasoline, communicate with an adjacent space. So, I guess I need to get together a proposal to install a monitoring well here and to sample this new well. And we're going to do a little more effort, see if we can find MW4, maybe with Becky's help and some other town personnel that might remember where that well was when it was put in all those years ago. So, we don't know what DEP's current opinion is. I don't think they're going to make the town, terminate the temporary solution, re-enter phase 2, finish the delineation of the plume, and then re-enter. That just seemed like a giant waste of money. Considering all the remediation that was done here, this can't be all that bad. So hopefully we can get this well in, get it sampled, and find out that we're okay. So that's the gasoline. Any questions
Okay.
on that?
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, just keep going ahead with more well, more testing.
So I guess the question I have, the new well that you're contemplating on that northern property by 50 Leverett, so that's on private property, right?
Correct.
So permission would have to be granted from the homeowner. And when you said the wells like are hot, so that was 8 and 5?
8 and 5, yeah.
And does that mean, that doesn't mean any additional remediation has to be done? They're at a level at which it's the current solution is okay?
Well, not here. Let me show you the data table.
Yeah.
So this is MW5. You see the C5 to C8 aliphatic hydrocarbons and the C9 to C10 aromatic hydrocarbons. We had 2,800 parts per billion and 1,100 parts per billion. The standards are 300 and 200, so we're well above those standards. But we do have the cushion of, these standards are protective of drinking water, and as I think these houses all have treatment systems on them, and the carbon systems that are on them to treat PFAS will also treat gasoline. So we have that bit of a cushion there. And that was part of my pitch to DEP too, was that, there is treatment on these wells so that if they are contaminated, if they are impacted by the gasoline release, we have treatment in place so people aren't going to be exposed.
But is that a long-term solution? So are we looking at a open-ended commitment to these POET systems, the filtration systems in all the houses, and testing, continued testing that?
They will be there for the PFAS, yes. And they serve dual purpose in that they will treat gasoline too, if the gasoline gets there.
Okay, let me just see if I had any other.
Jeff, Jeff, if you look back on the chart, I think the other point you made to me, to answer Rita's question, if you see the levels in the early years, were in the 9, 12, 14,000 range. So there has been significant degradation. It is, it's not what we want. We want to get farther, but I just wanted to point out that.
So is there some explanation for why, I think in your letter, it mentioned that the levels are where they were in 2018? There's some reason why.
That is, yeah, we call that rebound. So, when they closed the site in 2017, this level was here. This is the 3,100 and 3,400. That's what it was in 2017. And then when we sampled in June of 23, you can see that they jumped to 8,700, 5,700, which is commensurate with, kind of what we had back here in 2013, 2014. We resampled in August and it was elevated again. And we sampled in November. There was a problem with the lab with this result. So this result was considered no good. We resampled in January and got this 2,000 and the 1,100. So the 1,100 is exactly the same as what's in MW5. And the C5 to C8 aliphatics are actually a little bit higher at 5 than they are at 8. But 2,800, 2,000, those numbers aren't all that much different. So why it rebounded, I don't know. I reviewed everything that OTO had done, and I mean, they dug up all of the contaminated soil that was there. They had a little bit of rebound. They came back and did some injection work. We didn't see rebound under the fire station. That VW1, VW2 are still non-detect, which makes sense. But I'm at a loss to explain why these concentrations would jump up like this.
And then the IRA that was submitted to DEP, was that a follow-up to the periodic review opinion? Is that?
No, the periodic review opinion just deals with the gasoline issue.
Oh,
The IRA is for the PFAS.
Oh, okay, all right, I misunderstood. Thank you.
Sure. All right, so I guess I'll get a proposal to Becky for the installation of this additional monitoring well and some sampling. We did say too that we would check the influent of the houses that are nearest here, because we have to sample those for PFAS anyway. So we'll sample those for VPH as well, just to show that they're not impacted. We're dealing with, so all the drinking water wells are deep bedrock wells, and these wells that have the gasoline are shallow. They're above the bedrock. So it doesn't seem like there's any mixing going on there. The well that serves the fire station that's closest to the gasoline contamination, we sampled that one, it was non-detect. But it's up gradient, so it's questionable whether or not that would reach there. But there's definitely some communication between the overburden and the bedrock aquifers. Obviously the PFAS is in both, and it was a superficial release of PFAS that got into the bedrock too. So gasoline's not as soluble as PFAS, so I still don't expect we're going to see it in the bedrock aquifer, but we need the data to show that.
All right, moving right along.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
So this is our current PFAS distribution map. The purples mean that the PFAS 6, recall there are 6 compounds that Mass DEP regulates, 6 PFAS compounds, we add those up. The standard for the sum of those 6 is 20 parts per trillion. So the color coding on here, the purple ones are above 90. They consider that to be an imminent hazard. These two are red, just meaning they're above 20, but below 90. But remember that these two properties are served by drinking water well at the fire station. So, this isn't representative geographically of what is on this side of Leverett Road. It's, it's indicative of what's at the fire station in that other supply well. So the greens are good. Greens are non-detect. Yellows mean that there was a detection, but it's below the 20 parts per trillion. So, overall, we're looking pretty good. I think, let's see, there was one over here that was really high last time that came down. So, what we're really dealing with from an elevated concentration perspective is really like these 4 properties. And the rest of these are, single digit, low teens kind of sums. The good news from the sampling we did, the houses that were clean are still clean. So the plume is not migrating rapidly. The groundwater does move, so we will expect to see some movement. So some of these greens may turn yellow at some point in the future. But this plume is not expanding rapidly, which would be from a financial standpoint would be devastating. These black and white lines around this radius, those are all the 500-foot radii that we've had to do. So if we have a detection, we have to do a 500-foot radius from that detection, sample any of those properties. And, there's other projects we work on where it's like hot, there's another 500, another 500, another 500. So you're not that. This does seem to be fairly stagnant. All of the wells are pumping, so they're pumping groundwater, they're pumping groundwater that's contaminated out of the aquifer, pumping it through the carbon. That is accomplishing some mass removal. It's not a lot, it's not significant. Remember, these concentrations are parts per trillion. So what we're pulling out is, it takes millions and millions of gallons to get to even a gram of PFAS. But the good news is that it's not migrating.
So the IRA that was submitted, what was that? What was
Basically,
in
it's
that?
just-
Is that just reporting?
It just presents the results of our sampling, yeah. And putting the carbon treatment where it needs to be put on. And there's a couple locations internally within the existing radius that didn't have a system before that needs a single vessel system. So Becky's working with the plumber to get those installed. And once we do that, it's really just babysitting the systems. Like I think I told you before, the carbon systems will last, we've got other sites where they've lasted over 3 years and still going, some of them. So, we're not expecting to have a lot of carbon changes and, that expense, but, the systems do need to be put in, they do need to be monitored. And so that's going to be an ongoing cost.
What are other communities doing beyond, should Shutesbury be looking at some sort of a public water system, or are we not? I'm just trying to gauge where we stand on the continuum here in terms of contamination.
Yeah, if one of your neighboring communities had a water line, right at the town line, extending that line into Shutesbury would be an option. I think I'm correct that Shutesbury has no water, right? There's no water department, there's no public water.
Correct.
And there's
Yeah.
no line.
Oh, we have Quabbin at the bottom of the hill. So we just got something from the MWRA, which says they're hiring Ty and Bond to do a watershed feasibility study, which I gather they've done in other regions of the state, to look at whether or not we could get, I think it's like 5 or 6 communities, Becky, could get access to Quabbin. Of course, it's only a study, and when I looked at the numbers for the other regions that they looked at, like Metro West, they were $1 billion.
Oh, yeah.
But, I know that there has, our legislators anyway, have really pushed to say, we're providing all this water, to the eastern part of the state are not getting any of the benefits, and we get, you know, some change for payment in lieu. So, it'd be a long hill to pump water up, but there is water right there, great water.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the pumping and piping part that gets really expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah, so I
apparently
mean,
Go
Talking
ahead.
about facilitating the full infrastructure for the project,
yeah,
but it's a feasibility study. But if
Yeah,
they
that's-
did,
it's a long way off.
What, if anything, do you know about, it's sort of a related question. What, if anything, do you know about the class action lawsuit for PFAS mitigation against 3M and people like that? Do you know anything about that?
yeah, a couple of our clients are party to that. The MDL, the multi-district litigation. I would suggest that you try to get into it. You know, I guess the feeling is that, you know, nobody's going to be made whole, but, you know, the attorneys are going to make out well. And the
Yeah.
communities hopefully get something back, you know, hopefully get enough to, you know, at least get, you know, a few years of these costs back. You know, but I mean, this is a statewide problem. You know, it's not just you guys. There's towns all across the Commonwealth that are similarly impacted. And, you know, what we're doing, putting these treatment systems on and sampling them, monitoring them, reporting to DEP is good, you know, to prevent people from being exposed to it, but it's not a long-term solution. And, you know, like Shutesbury doesn't want to have a line item in its budget forever, you know, for this money to keep going and keep sampling. And, you know, like I said, we are going to see, you know, depending what way the groundwater moves here, we are going to see some, you know, some expansion of this plume and adding more systems, and eventually the carbon will have to be changed, you know, and this is just an ongoing cost with, you know, no end in sight, short of someone coming up with a miracle solution to clean this stuff up.
So
I
who
feel
do
like this-
who do we contact regarding, oh, you have the information, okay.
There was talk of the state establishing a PFAS remediation fund
Mhm.
that would be, you know, distributed, I assume, based on, you know, need, you know, to help mitigate some of these costs. You know, like I said, something's going to have to be done. I mean, we can't just keep going the way that we're going. It's not going to be, you know, it's not sustainable in the long term. And, you know, it's not your fault. You know, you didn't put PFAS in the firefighting foam and, you know, whatever releases that occurred. You know, at the time, nobody knew any better. So, you know, there's a lot of people in the same boat, and something's going to have to give. But if you guys want to get into the MDL, I mean, I'd suggest doing it. It's not a big cost for you up front. And, you know, you may get, you know, at least get reimbursed for a few years of costs on the back end at some point. Bringing a water line in would be awesome, but, you know, to establish a drinking water supply and staff a water department and put all the lines in, I mean, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, so she left.
So just along those lines, because that's what I was going to ask you next. I mean, if we contemplated that, you know, having some sort of water supply, we'd probably run into the same problem if we were digging a well, right? We were digging a well in the center of town just to supply the center of town with water. You're saying the PFAS is in the bedrock and in the groundwater. So regardless of how deep we went, we were probably gonna find PFAS. Is that the conventional?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that is the reality. Which would mean, you know, putting the well somewhere not downtown, which means, you know, more length of water line. But, you know, I mean, there are, you know, we can do a study for you to try and find a location to put the well, and they would do some exploration and, you know, find a spot that's PFAS free. Or put the well, put the well here and just treat it, but then you're just treating it once, you just have one treatment system at the wellhead versus, versus 40 systems in all the houses.
And we're having to test all of those quarterly, right? At a, what, $250, $300, it's
Per sample.
$1,200 per house.
And,
Per year.
and now we have, we've been required to put in additional dual systems. Dual systems require 3 tests. So they're closer to $800, $900 for an individual house.
And for what it's worth, and we're just doing quarterly for the first year. And then once we demonstrate that, the influent concentrations are steady, the systems are effective, at that point, we can propose something less frequent, based on how the systems are working and the concentrations that we're seeing. We can go at least to semi-annual, if annual is probably too much to hope for, but semi-annual, I think, would be approvable by DEP.
They would have to approve a different testing schedule.
Yeah, we have to request a modification to the IRA to change the monitoring schedule.
Okay.
And we also have to test all the non-detects annually or semi-annually.
Right now, we're doing them semi-annually. And again, once we generate more data, if we have enough data that we can be comfortable that, this plume is really not moving and, these concentrations down here are, I'd have to look back, but if they're, single digit kind of numbers and we have, 3 semi-annual rounds and they're all non-detect, we could push to maybe go annual on those. If there was an impact, just if there was an impact to come, it would be at a, something well below the 20. So that would give, DEP the comfort that, yeah, somebody might be drinking PFAS for a brief period until we detect it, and then we'll put a treatment system in and they'll be covered. But that's kind of the, that's the hard part, telling people like, well, you may have to drink PFAS for a little bit, but just a little bit for a little while. But there's really no, quarterly testing is very expensive. So you have to kind of balance the real risk versus the cost.
Okay, any lessons learned from any of your other clients that would benefit us, or?
No, we're all kind of in the same boat. It was this mad scramble as the radii expand and getting the treatment systems in. And, now that they're all in, we're just kind of babysitting it. And, unfortunately, there's just no good remedial options. Everything is super expensive. I mean, to dig up the fire station and send it for incineration would be, hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million or $2. And that does nothing for what's already in the ground. So these systems would still have to be here, but you would take the source out.
Are there new towns that are, or cities or municipalities that are discovering this now? I mean, we haven't seen everything, right? All the municipalities have not been discovered yet. They didn't even know that was a problem. Is that true?
Yeah. The ones, the cities that have big water systems, they were required to sample. But I think some of the, the smaller towns are not, where all the houses are on private wells, they're not required to sample. So that's one of the things, the UMass program where they went out and how towns that had, I think it was, I forget what the number was, but there was, if some percentage of the town was served by private wells, DEP and UMass would fund, or DEP would fund, UMass would collect the samples just to check. So that's what they did. And a lot of towns got pulled into the system because of that. A lot of them found these, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts per trillion levels with no apparent source, so it's assumed that it's just septic systems and, PFAS in household products that have been discharged as septic systems over the years. Some of them did have really elevated concentrations and they turned out to be, by a fire station or a fire training area or a plane crash or something like that.
Okay, well, this has been very informative and, we'll have you back quarterly, just as we do our testing. Not quite as often, but no,
Sure.
I think it's really important for, I mean, this is on record now, if people in town wanna, hear your presentation, hear the answers to the questions, and, yeah, I think it would be good to get updates, some sort of regular basis. So, I think that's it, we have a executive session we're going into, so thank you very much, Jeff, really appreciate that. Your
Anytime.
time.
Anytime, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Okay, I think I saw our attorney here. It is 6:45. Okay, so the select board is going to be going into executive session for reason number 3, which is to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's litigating position. Litigation is specific to a complaint received from Cole regarding the Shutesbury solar bylaw with special counsel, town council, and planning board representative. We need to do a roll call vote to go into executive session. And we will not be reconvening an open session. We have nothing else on the agenda, and all votes taken in executive session will be recorded roll call votes. So do I hear a motion to go into executive session for reason number 3?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
McPhee, O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. And,
We still have 2 people.
yeah, all right, anybody who's Sharon, can you sign off, please? Okay, since we're here in this room and nobody can hear us, Adam, I assume you're in a space where nobody can hear you?
I certainly am.
And that covers it. So, welcome, I think, again, I'm Rita Farrell, the co-chair.
Melissa McPhee, O'Neill, the other co-chair.
Eric Stalker, not the co-chair.
And we have Jeanette Kiley here, who's filling in, taking minutes for us this evening, and of course, you know Becky. So you are here to give us an update on the litigation, correct?
I am, and I just got an education on PFAS like I've never gotten before. I've sat through a couple of shorter presentations, but that was quite enlightening.
Scary, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So thank you for adding me to your agenda tonight. I want to say at the outset, and I don't think this will be problematic. I actually thought I was on the agenda at 5:30, not realizing that was actually your meeting start time. So that's fine. Except I have a hard stop at about 7:15 because I have back-to-back meetings tonight. But that gives us about half an hour, 25 minutes. I really only have about 10 minutes worth of an update. And then it's really any questions that board members might want to ask. There really hasn't been a whole lot that has occurred in the litigation over the course of the past maybe 8 to 10 weeks since we last convened and had conversations maybe just after the holidays about this lawsuit and about filing a further lawsuit challenging the AG's determination on the bylaw. So my focus today and what I really wanted to discuss with the board is the litigation that was filed or commenced by Coles and by the 4 separate limited liability companies that are offshoots of AMP Energy that are proposing these solar projects. That you recall that litigation was filed last spring or summer.